Good morning. We're so grateful that you're here. We're so grateful that you're able to join us here for our September 14th elected council meeting of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County. Some of our latest YouTube links include some big questions with Rabbi Perlmutter and DJ Larson on the big questions from August. Reza Sharif Sadeh and myself did one in July, and our last meeting link is there. ICARE has some upcoming events that are inside your agenda, and we'll go over these a little later as well. Our next meaningful Mondays will be Monday, October 2nd, where we'll be discussing chapters 11 to 13 on Judaism inside Joan Chittister's Welcome to the Wisdom of the World. We are the elected council of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County, 108 congregations, monasteries, and retreat centers come together to do our work together. And today, Greg Kremenliev, a member of our governing board, is our moderator. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Will, and welcome to everyone. Let us start with the approval of the July 13th minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, so moved. Is there a second? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, so say aye or raise your hands. Okay. The minutes are approved. And the next item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement and opening statement by Reverend Will.
There we go. We have a video today to learn more about the Bay Miwok, who are a part of our Bay Area, and basically Concord and Pittsburgh East in Contra Costa are the lands of the Bay Miwok peoples. And as we learn a little bit more about them today, let's watch this brief video about their dancing culture.
I have been dancing since I was 5 years old, so I've been dancing over 50 years. My name is Teresa Franklin Yanamora. I'm affiliated with the Northern California Miwok Dancers. My father was Bill Franklin Sr., and he was the head of our dance group, which was started way back in the late 40s and the early 50s. And my father was the biggest role in our lives as the cultural wise.
When I was a teenager, becoming a young adult, I used to try to learn as much from my grandfather, Bill Franklin, as I could. And I would ask about the language, the songs, the dances. The
little boys that danced with us, they came into our group when they could barely learn how to walk. And we try to teach them to be respectful to their tradition. Hold your parents very dear in your family. That's our cultural. And when someone's in need, you help them. The name of the river that comes down through Wilton, Elk Grove, that's the Kasumne.
The history of it comes out of a Miwok language. Kasum is salmon. Umne was our people, and this was the river.
So, you know, it was our language, it was our culture, it was our heritage, and it's beautiful to come here and dance for the people.
Susie's going to start us in our reading of the covenant, and we need one more person to step up to read the second page. Susie, please do numbers 1 to 4.
In solidarity with one another, we each affirm our gatherings are interfaith gatherings. We come together from diverse communities to be inspired and transformed by the rich diversity of our faith traditions. We commit ourselves to compassionate and active listening as we engage in respectful dialogue. We welcome those who might differ from us, seeking their wisdom and insights. Each of us shares in the privilege of growing in interfaith and understanding. Our working together for a common cause brings us together in peace.
We are responsible.
Go ahead.
We are responsible for the work and outreach of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County. The governing board provides the necessary oversight and will be attentive to the elected council's ideas, wisdom, and suggestions. We will strive to support and participate in the various outreach programs sponsored and supported by the Interfaith Council. We hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards as we grow together in trust and respect for one another. Our time together is the practice of interfaith understanding, cooperation, and respect. We hope our time together will bless one another, our community, and the world.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Dale Weatherspoon.
The next agenda item is the opening faith reflection. I will like to introduce Terri, the founder of ICARE and one of our fellow attendees with the Parliament of World Religions in Chicago and a co-author of mine now. Thanks. Go ahead, Terri.
Thanks, Greg. So, hi, everyone. I'm speaking today as a member of Temple Isaiah in Lafayette. And so I'm Jewish. And we're leading into the High Holy Days, which is like the Christmas, Easter, Ramadan, big things that are happening in the Jewish tradition. And so there's so much to say, what I wanted to say, first of all, Will brought up this whole thing of anti-Semitism, which is rearing its ugly head, as always. So I'd like you to contemplate, as I'm talking to you about what these High Holy Days are all about, why someone would find this threatening or scary enough to hate Jews. It's a question I don't quite understand. No people is perfect, but our foundational beliefs are something we aspire to. And I wanted to give you a little understanding about what these High Holy Days are, and in a very top level form. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask me. But each month has a Hebrew name, and we're just finishing the month of Elul. And the month of Elul is a time of reflection and preparation for Rosh Hashanah. Rosh means top, and Hashanah means of the year. So it's the top of the year, it's the new year. And we celebrate it with symbolism of sweetness, apples and honey cake, the usual food. But we also spend a full day in prayer, and that's coming up. Our holidays start the night before. So Erev Rosh Hashanah, Erev is the night before, is Friday night. This year, we're on the lunar calendar, so it shifts every year. And Rosh Hashanah will be all day Saturday. Then there'll be a 10-day period called the Days of Awe. And during that period of time, people are reflecting, making amends, reflecting on their life, and doing, emulating and thinking about death as a way of realizing how precious our life is today, and preparing and asking God to be inscribed in the book of life. There's a what's his name, singer who recently died. His name is escaping me. He wrote a song, Leonard Cohen, and who will die, and who will die by fire, who will die by flood. He took that straight from the Hebrew Bible. I thought this is not a common occurrence, but on Rosh Hashanah, 4 or 5 people will go up to the bima, or the front of the sanctuary, and read from the Torah. And in a moment of weakness, I volunteered to do a Torah portion. So I've been preparing one, and I thought, what the heck, if you want to hear, it will let me practice, and then you'll also get a sense of what a Torah chant sounds like. And every year, what is read this time of year is called the Akedah, which is the time when God tells Abraham to go and sacrifice his only son, Isaac. So he goes up to the mountaintop, he gets the wood, he's getting ready to do the sacrifice. And then, because he's demonstrated his faithfulness to God, God says, never mind. And the part I'm going to read is, I'm going to close my window, sorry. And the part I'm going to be chanting is, And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in place of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Adonai Yireh. Yireh is a derivative, a root for awe or fear. As it is said to this day, in the mount of the Eternal it shall be seen. And the angel of the Eternal called to Abraham from heaven the second time and said, by myself have I sworn, said the Eternal, for because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son. So if you're up for it, I'll do this chant. And then I'll say, then we can move on.
Yeah,
Is that
please.
okay with everybody, or would you prefer? That's okay. Okay.
Please do.
I don't want to force yourself on me. I mean, you can always mute and go get breakfast, but okay. Amen. Vayisor Avraham et dinav vayar v'hine ayil ahar ne'echaz besevach bekarnav vayelech Avraham vayikach et ha'ayil vaya'alehu le'olah tachat beno vayikra Avraham Shem hamakom hahu Adonai Yereh Asher Ya'amer Hayam Bahar Adonai Yereh Vayikra Malach Adonai El Avraham Shenit Min Hashamayim Vayumer Binishbati Ne'um Adonai Ki Yan Asher Asita Et Hadavar Hazeh Velo Hasota Et Bincha Et Yehidecha. There you have it. So I guess the other thing that's known for this holiday is the blowing of the shofar. And the reason for that is it's to call all of us to be awake to life, to be awake of the fragility of life, to be grateful to be awake. And this link that I was showing to Will that's in Facebook is Rabbi Jacobs, who's the head of the Union of Reform Judaism, and he talks about using this term woke, which is being used in our culture wars, really is another way of saying be awake. And so I would encourage you, if you're so inclined, to review and review and reflect and think about being awake in your life. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
Terri, I have a quick question. I've always wondered about this. You were chanting the chant of the scriptures, right?
Yes.
But is there is the song consistent with, in other words, every scripture has its own song?
That's a great question. The cantor would love that question. There's something called nusach, which is melody. And so there's different nusachs or different melodies depending on the time of year. As you know, melody can evoke a feeling, just like the Christmas music evokes a certain feeling. Well, this is called the High Holiday nusach. So the minors and the melody that I used is very specific to this time of year. when you chant Torah at other times of the year, they're not going to use the same tonality and melody. It will still be probably a minor key because that's what we do, but it's not that kind of melody. And just so you know, this is what it looked like that I just chanted. Okay.
Wow.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. But wow. So they can use that same melody at this time for the.
Yeah. And it's called cantillation.
Oh.
And there are cantillation marks that indicate what, like there's eknakta is the name of one cantillation mark that tells you whether to go up or down or up and down or all around. But the actual key, if you will, changes depending on the time of year or whether it's a holiday or not a holiday.
Last question. Can you change the chant to match your voice? Can you put it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You can put it in whatever key you want.
Okay.
Terri, Terri, thank you. That was moving, and we appreciate your sharing. Oh, Virginia, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Terri. I had to switch over from my phone. I kept getting knocked off the screen. So I think I missed a little bit at the beginning. But I was wondering, how long is your little month, and how many months do you have in the Gregorian year?
Oh my God. I don't know. I'm thinking it matches our 12-month cycle, but I couldn't tell you. I think it's like a 30-day per month, but I don't know. And that's probably not true. So I'd have to Google it or ask a rabbi. And I won't be able to ask them for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, it might be the moon, right? Might be.
It's a lunar
definitely
calendar,
lunar
yeah.
calendar. It's a lunar calendar, yes. And we're beginning this month of high holidays is the month of Tishrei. Trivia.
Okay, and Dennis, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Terri, thank you very much. How many years back does this chanting go? When was it, really started in its form today?
It's a rough guess, 2,000 years.
Oh, so it goes back to biblical times.
My understanding, but again, I would have to look it up. I'm not a rabbi and I don't know this kind of thing. So, but this is why interfaith teaches you about your own faith tradition. You think you're learning about someone else's, but I get questions like this and I have to research it. And then I would love to get back to you on that. Those are great questions. I happen to know the answer to Diane's because I did take an adult B'nai Mitzvah class and we talked about Nusach. So we had to learn cantillation marks and we had to learn how to chant. So that's why I knew the answer to that one. But the others, I don't have a clear answer on.
Good. Well, it's a great lead into our next agenda item, which is a report from the folks who were at the Parliament of World Religions. And Will, do you have did you want to show some slides or did you want to?
I have a few pictures I'll just lift up and then we can have more reports from other attendees. How does that sound?
Wonderful.
Great. So here's a picture of some of the religious leaders that were gathering on the stage as a part of an opening procession. There were plenary events. There were small workshops. You can go online to parliamentofreligions.org and actually you can explore the program, and you can even go on the top right to our 2023 convening and see recordings of all of the plenaries. And there were plenaries at multiple times during each of the 5 days that we were there. But there was a lot of different workshops. And here's Terri, Dave, and myself as we were preparing to share our little workshop, sharing about how we created ICARE and offering this as an idea to other folks in other traditions and other interfaith councils around the country. There were exhibits outside like this one against gun violence that gave folks a hands-on ability to participate in tying prayer strips of cloth around the outside and learning more about gun violence. And they actually had a station there outdoors where people could literally hammer weapons into plowshares and basically guns into garden tools was a the bit that they enabled people to join them in. I think there were some folks from the Presbyterian Peace Fellowship that were doing this, and they're doing that actually in parts of the East Coast. And then as well, give you an opportunity to add some spirituality to your prayers ending gun violence in a labyrinth that was outside, put down in tape. There was also a labyrinth inside that they had in an open space in one of the pieces, one of the areas in the convention center that was right on the shore of Lake Superior there on, just east of downtown. We stayed in Chinatown in a kind of a common house, or a lot of us did, but there were workshops every day. This is one of the ones that I attended. And then there were other rituals put on by different faith traditions. Here's one of the pagan rituals put on by local pagans in the Chicago area. There was also an area where Native Americans did some fire ceremonies. There was some controversy that they weren't allowed to be able to do it on land itself. So I had to kind of create a place where there was some actual dirt to be able to do that. And there were 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. water or fire ceremonies led by different groups. One of the more meaningful ones for me was a Mayan ceremony. There was an exhibit hall with all sorts of different booths and faith traditions that had booths, but also this representation of quilts made in the response to the murder of George Floyd. Here was an interesting workshop I went to by Rabbi Daniel from the Coalition on the Environment and Jewish Life, talking about how to help trees and retreeing neighborhoods, especially in low-income neighborhoods that don't have as many trees as others. And there was a special showing of a video that you can find online called The Doctrine of Discovery, Unmasking the Domination Code, and a fascinating conversation about how the Doctrine of Discovery continues to infect our legal system and turns our own legal system into a domination code that allows for the taking of indigenous lands. One of the biggest pieces that I was a part of was an urgent call to protect the Amazon, a dialogue with indigenous leaders. This is on our Facebook page if you scroll down a few days, and it's 2 hours and 16 minutes, but it's a very powerful call from indigenous leaders around the world to help answer the need for protecting the Amazon as the lungs of the world, especially from the miners and poachers and people that are stealing land from indigenous peoples in the Amazon and other places around the world. So those gives you a little flavor. There are other folks here that were a part of the Parliament as well, and I encourage you to share what meant the most to you.
Well, I found several important aspects to my life that has changed my life. Is they had a show at the planetarium and talked about the galaxies, and it was just so fascinating. And then to think how big that was, and then to go to another seminar on epigenomes. I encourage you to look it up. It's easy, EPI genomes, and how we are affected by life and our stress, as well as wonderful, beautiful things in our epigenomes, which are like on the cellular level. So I went from big, huge galaxies to the cellular level, and it was quite the experience. Two others real quick was the use of aquaculture, and how that could really replace using meat instead of meat, using fish. And it was just a really wonderful, you would think not to use this, we've been taught of how bad the ocean's been, but the way it's presented, it was so important to really try and use more aquaculture. And the other one was it was just a wonderful presentation by folks from Texas that I thought they were so right-wing that I didn't know that they were doing all these beautiful things in Texas for people, and wonderful organizations. So it was just the whole thing was eye-opening to see what is being done in our world.
Christine, do you have some comments?
I would basically second everything that Diane said. And what was most moving to me is that the Parliament exists, that so many different faith traditions can get together and extend peace and love. Thank you.
Terri?
I would say one of the more moving moments, well, I loved the pre-conference parade and the opening ceremonies because of all of its variety, color, diversity of spiritual expression. But it was the 5 days, although I wasn't there for the full 5 days, of lunches that were served at the Langar by the Gurdwara, I think of in London, they had like at least 6 or 10, correct me if I've got my data wrong, but a bunch of people, 6 came from London, and they set up this massive white tent and ground cover. I wasn't there for the flood, but which I understand they managed quite well. But what was really so impressive was their organization, their generosity, the kindness, and the honoring of their tradition by having however many wanted to be fed for free with the great humility. We walked in, we'd take our shoes off. They put a head covering, white scarf over our heads, washed our hands, and then sat down on the ground most of the time. And then with plates and everything, they served us with these ladles of beautifully prepared, mostly I would say Indian food, vegetarian, made me want to be vegetarian. And I'm moving in that direction now, thanks in part to them. And I was just really blown away by that.
Yes, thanks, Terri. That was remarkable. I was there for the flood, and it was pretty amazing. It was I think there were probably 400 people in the tent at any one time, and it started raining and lightning and thunder, and all of a sudden, this group of volunteers sprung into action. It was like a movie almost, with a bucket brigade, and they had silver buckets, and people they would catch the leaks in the roof, and then at one point the roof just burst, or a piece of the roof just burst, and so everybody gathered around it, and nobody panicked, and it was just beautiful to see, and that was great. And I was moved by the blacksmiths. I didn't realize who I was talking to at first. This guy named Shane from I think Shane was from Philadelphia, and just a amicable, friendly, laid back, modest guy. And I think he was one of the final, if not the final speakers, that closed the Parliament. But that idea of beating, swords into plowshares and just literally guns into tools was phenomenal. Shane had told me a story while I was waiting for my turn about a woman who I believe whose child had been killed by gun violence, who just took that hammer and smashed it so hard and got all of her anger out. And it was just, I was almost in tears listening to him. So when my turn came, I just, it was really cool to see a barrel of a gun heated up that you could just smash into something that's going to be a tool or jewelry. It was just that was remarkable to me. I don't know. Do we want to quit?
Brother Tom, do you have anything to share about Parliament?
I would simply refer everybody back to the website of the Parliament, especially to look at the documentation that has been published over the years. And this would be a good time, especially in preparation for the International Day of Peace, to look at the Parliament of the World's Religions documentation on human ethics, the global ethic in the world. That is the base document of all the work that's being done. What the Torah might be to Judaism, what the Gospels might be to Christianity. is what that particular document on the global ethics is to the Parliament of the World Religions. And also to look forward to another document that will be coming out in response to the meeting we had in Chicago on human dignity, human freedom, and the human conscience. So one of the things to be very aware of, this is not just simply a few people writing a lot of words on paper, but oftentimes this documentation is the result of these particular meetings. And I like to think that the work that we do in the meeting that we have is a continuing celebration, observance, and implementation of the wisdom of the Parliament. My blessings to everyone.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see such a strong delegation, from our interfaith, from the I4C. I think, were we the largest delegation from the Bay Area?
Yes, from the Bay Area we were, and we are going to have a report back on Monday, September 18th with members of all of the different Bay Area councils that attended. And that Zoom link is inside your agenda. I don't see Tracy Tate yet from Beat the Street, so let's move to this and give her a little bit more time to join us. And so one of the other things that's been happening recently is we have a Bay Area Interfaith Leadership Council made up of the leadership of all of the Bay Area Interfaith Councils. And we've been working on some PSAs, public service announcements, messaging against hate. And we decided to call it We All Belong. And I'm going to just share some of the short videos that we launched last Wednesday, September 6th, inside the Interfaith Center of the Presidio, which you see in the back of this video.
I'm Michael Pappas, Executive Director of the San Francisco Interfaith Council, and gathered here today with my colleagues from the Greater Bay Area.
I'm the Reverend Will McGarvey, Executive Director of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County.
Reverend Scott Quinn, Marin Interfaith Council.
Reverend Jerry Caprio, Interfaith Center at the Presidio.
At a time when rhetoric in the public square is so vitriolic, and there are those who are, for political purposes, stoking the embers of hate, the faith community has a moral responsibility to speak out. And today we have joined forces in order to promote peace and love and justice. And that's what you're going to hear today.
The heart of all our faith traditions is from our universal values to encourage solidarity, to find our human connection with each other, to celebrate that. So today, as we have gathered together, we find and uphold and highlight and celebrate the diversity of all our various communities, particularly those who are threatened in the Bay Area.
As interfaith leaders, we are often the ones that hear about the hate crimes, even when they're not reported to the police. So we know how many hate crimes exist here in our progressive and diverse Bay Area. And we call upon all people of faith and good conscience to work together for the greater good of all.
Our critical message really is that we all belong, regardless of who we are, where we are, whatever our religious and traditions are, regardless of where we came from, regardless of where we want to go. We all belong.
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 Today's attacks against the Asian American community are rooted in a long history of hate, discrimination, and violence.
I grew up in Marin County as a Buddhist. I'm Japanese American. Both of my parents were in the internment camps during the war, so I understand racism.
Pre-pandemic, my maternal grandmother, Yik Oi Huang, was brutally attacked and subsequently died in 2020.
We must break the silence and build towards the beloved community by standing together. We all belong.
We all belong.
We all belong.
Ooh. And here's the Jewish one.
The Bay Area is home to one of the most vibrant and diverse Jewish communities in the world.
Some of us are Mizrahi Jews with ancestors from the Middle East.
Some of us have interfaith families.
Some of us are immigrants.
Some of us are LGBTQ.
I'm a father, a husband. I'm a Jewish American.
In Hebrew, we say Hineni, which translates to here I am.
We all belong.
We all belong.
We all belong.
We all belong.
Join our interfaith community as we work towards a Bay Area where Jewish identity is seen, heard, embraced, and understood. We all belong.
This one was made in cooperation with the JCRC, and the Asian one was made in cooperation with the Chinatown Development Corporation. And here's the Muslim one.
Hi, my name is Ashwaq. I am a professor of anthropology. I'm a poet. I am a Muslim American.
I'm Zachary. I'm a scholar, a father, and I'm a Muslim American.
My name is Nadia. I'm an entrepreneur, an activist, and I'm Muslim American.
I'm a Black Muslim American father. I'm an imam of the Lighthouse Mosque.
I'm a community organizer, a Pakistani mother, and a Muslim American.
Learn more about your Muslim neighbors who are an integral part of our community. We all belong.
We all belong.
We all belong.
We all belong.
That was one was made in cooperation with the Islamic Network Group. We've put all of these together as individual YouTube links inside of our YouTube channel. And so it's always there for you to use. If you see an act of anti-Asian hate or anti-Semitism or Islamophobia, please use these or post them all together. You may have seen them on our social media with a link that has all of them inside the same link from the Bay Area Interfaith Leadership Council. But that's what we have so far. If we had enough money, we would create 6 or 7 more of these to be able to address hate crimes against other groups as well. And they're there for you to use and to share, and please do so. Encourage folks in your congregation, copy and paste the information that's in your agenda and send it to your congregation's office so that they can put it in your newsletter so members of your congregation can find it as well. We were hoping to have a brief introduction to the work of Beat the Streets. Tracy Tate, for whatever reason, is not able to be with us this morning, but we hope to bring them back in the future. And we're hoping to partner with them, especially with our iChange program and the work of our interfaith juvenile chaplains at Juvenile Hall. There's a new newsletter that includes a lot of upcoming events, and including a great piece that Susie wrote about the passing of Dr. Carol Wayland Connor, the Murshida of Sufism Reoriented, and lots of other really interesting information inside that, including information about our International Day of Peace event that we're co-hosting with the Interfaith Peace Project in Antioch, Father Tom's group. And we're very lucky to get Rabbi Lynn Gottlieb to share a theater piece that she wrote a few years ago and has been adapting to be able to address how to do reparations from a faith perspective. And she's going to be talking about that from a Jewish perspective and some of the work that she's been doing. A portion of the proceeds of this will go to the Seguri Aute Land Trust. And if you can be in person for this, we really encourage that, and we'll encourage everyone to wear masks. If you can't be there in person, you can still purchase a ticket, and we'll send you a Zoom link, and we'll be able to let you participate in that way. This is at Diane's Church, First Christian Church of Concord, Disciples of Christ, 3039 Willow Pass Road. But the link online is interfaithccc.org/IDP2023. And Diane, did you want to say anything about that?
I just had a wonderful talk with her, and it sounds like it's going to be so fascinating and wonderful. It's only 75 minutes long. There's no intermission, so it should be a lot of fun. And she's going to have several different vignettes. It sounds like it's going to be fascinating, and I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. She's preached in my congregation before, and she's just an amazing speaker. Our annual meeting is on Sunday, October 8th, and it's going to be at Beth Chaim Congregation, under their Sukkah. That's Naomi Ehrlich's congregation. We're so grateful for you hosting us. We're going to have a silent auction. So, and we need volunteers to help set up and tear down. The potluck dinner's at 6 under the Sukkah outside on the west side of the building. And the program will be from 7 to 8:30 in the sanctuary. This year, instead of having a lot of verbal reports, we're going to try to do as much written report. So I really need your written reports for our first printed annual report to be able to put that inside of that by October 1st. So if you're a chair of one of our program committees, we will have the singing messengers there that will sing to us during dinner. And it should be just an amazing event. Diane, did you want to share anything more about that?
Yes, I know that a lot of people hate to ask for other people for auction items, but I find that just be brave, and any merchant that you seem to work with, that you enjoy working with, ask them if they would like to donate to maybe making a basket. And we're hoping that every one of you from your faith groups will have a basket like you did last year. They were so wonderful, and they were so much fun to auction those off. But I asked my hairdresser, and she said sure, she'd do it. And then just feel free to speak up. I mean, what are they going to do? Say no? Fine, you know. So don't be afraid. Think of anything that you think would be interesting to share with us. It's a great way for us to have fun and get donations for and advertise for our Interfaith Council. If you need help, call me up.
Great.
Thank you. Now, since we didn't have the report from the Beat the Streets, should we go a little longer on the interfaith dialogue?
We will have a little more time for that. I was just going to mention that we're still in the midst of our $20,000 matching gift for this summer. And so if you or your congregation can make a donation to the Interfaith Council, even this fall, we're still finishing up that $20,000 matching gift. And if you wanted to see the rapid response letter we wrote to the city of Antioch about the Antioch police situation, you can see that on our website as well.
Oh, well, I want to say one thing. If it's too much to do a potluck dish and a auction item, don't worry about it. We'll be able to cover the potluck, and be sure to come no matter what, and really invite people to see all the wonderful things that are going on in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we move?
Do you want to just give a brief development report, just verbally, Greg, about some of our recent work?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah, we have been working on a couple of pretty significant foundation grants. One is the Lesher Foundation, that we had a nice group of folks working together to help us. We submitted the request for, it was $75,000 a year for 2 years, a lot of which was passed through to our three partners: Beat the Streets, New Life Movement, and Rainbow Coalition, or Rainbow Community Center, I believe. So that we're hoping to get positive response on that. And then we had another proposal that we just submitted to the San Francisco Foundation for $25,000, which we'd be able to use for our general operating expenses, and have some flexibility on where we can go with for further grants. And it encouraged me, because I think there is foundation money out there, and we can capture some of it.
Great, thank you. Our dialogue today is one that we've been thinking about for a while. And what are some misconceptions around pronunciation, interreligious faux pas, or what most people don't get about your faith tradition? And what are some interfaith mistakes you've made or witnessed, without naming names, so that we can learn from one another? We will be doing some reporting back after this. So we encourage you to take these questions. We're going to put them into the chat room now so that you have them, and that should travel with you to your breakout rooms. But we're going to break out into rooms of 3 or 4 so that we have enough time for each of us to share with one another as well. So let me create those rooms.
Recording in progress.
There we go. You should have an invitation soon. Hi, Erica. We just went into, oh, you got it. Oh, I should have included, I should have had these recordings on earlier, but I'll just mention that one. When you pronounce the word Muslim, don't pronounce it Muslim because that's close to an Arabic swear word. Pronounce it Muslim using the S sound rather than the Z sound. So it's not close to an Arabic swear word. We talked a lot about Methodists and Baptists and names of traditions that were pejorative at one point. Even the word Mormon was a pejorative at one point, and people have either reclaimed that or gone back to the original name of their tradition, like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We talked about the history of Episcopalians and how they took that term here in the United States after the Revolutionary War, when there was a lot of anti-English sentiment. And that's why we have Presbyterians who who name themselves after elders because they're ruled by a board of elders, and presbyteros is the Greek word for elders, and episkopoi is the Greek word for bishops. And it's interesting how that even made it into the name of a denomination here in the United States. Anything else that I missed that we want to share? All right, room 5, Dennis Wasco, Diane Maltester, and Jenny Ali.
Well, I'll just, we didn't talk all that much about the different change or faux pas in regard to religion, but I brought up the fact that I have a daughter-in-law who is African American, and just the learning of all the issues that an African American has to go through in the United States, being a minority, has just been eye-opening for me and my wife. And at first, I know it's not exactly religion, but it is cultural, and the fact of that we initially thought that that she and her mother were definitely just angry Black women, and that wasn't the case at all. I mean, it was what they had come up against and what they had experienced, and how how dreadful all of that was, and that kind of opened things up for us to really see exactly what people have to endure. And so the lesson from that was to definitely be open, definitely know the background, and that can apply to religions too, because there's a reason people are and act and do and say what they do. There's a reason for that. One of the faux pas that I mentioned, and it's kind of humorous, was we were having a kind of a get together at our home here, and it was of a golf group that I belong to, and one of the gentlemen happens to be Jewish, and so we were trying to decide, what we were going to bring to this gathering, and so I just said, "Oh, can you bring a shrimp cocktail?" And whoops, shellfish are not allowed, or not part of the Jewish diet. So that was just one little faux pas that we had. And also, I had to give an invocation at a CERS group. I don't know if you folks know what CERS is. It's a men's group for mature men. And I, at the end, like Terri pointed out, I said, I prayed and so on. And the prayer was very, very open and very inclusive, but just out of habit, at the end, I said, "In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ." And so it was pointed out to me that I did that. So that's Jenny. Did you have anything?
Oh, I was just thinking about the cultural differences in the Arab culture and American culture, because I was with my Muslim husband for 46 years. So I learned a lot about the culture. And one of it was the throwing of the shoes at the president is one of the biggest insults you could do, because the bottom of the shoes are considered the dirtiest thing. And so that's why a lot of Arab men, they don't cross their legs like, American men do, because to show the bottom of their shoe is very disrespectful. So there's a lot of things I learned.
That's true in some Native American circles too. You don't point your feet at the speaker with your feet.
Yes, yes. And so that's why a lot of cultures, you leave your shoes outside too when you go indoors rather than walking inside the house.
Thanks, Jenny.
Things like that, yeah.
Terri?
Cultural things.
Go ahead, Terri.
I just wanted to quickly say, it occurred to me about the Parliament of World Religions. Just a personal comment. Reverend Will was like a kid in a candy shop at this Parliament of World Religions. His intellectual curiosity and just curiosity in every form was on full display. He was reveling in this experience and made the most of it. I mean, I think he was up 24/7. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And he knows a lot of people. He's really well connected. So I just thought I would share that personal observation.
Absolutely.
Reverend Will?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to, I know we were speaking about terms that might be offensive, and I just wanted to raise up, and I know it's maybe just for me, but there's a term when I hear African American Black folks and associated with the term minority. To me, that means the word minority means less than, and so it goes back to us being 3/5 of a person. Not a whole person. And so I think, we're fighting for equality. And, so other terms such as BIPOC or people of color or ethnic folks is a better term than minority. I don't think anybody wants to be referred to as less than. And so,
and it's not true anymore, because white people are now the minority in California. And that's going to be true for white people in the rest of the country in the next 20 years. But here in California, it's already the case, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about that, how white folks will feel as they're starting to hear themselves being referred to as minority. And I think that's probably getting under some folks' skin. because it also means, oh, now I'm having less power. And so how do we get away from those kinds of terms? That's what I'm positing for us this afternoon or this morning.
Thank you.
Reverend Dale, I apologize. I think I used that term, and I apologize, and another learning moment. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thanks. And I know you, Dennis. And so I didn't take offense, but it was just one of those moments where I heard that word and felt called to say something. But I know your heart, man. So I know it wasn't meant offensively or derogatorily. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And I've attended some BIPOC groups where they make the claim that we are part of the world majority. So that's kind of turning that on its head and saying,
yeah. Yeah, it's something I wrestle with even when I go to my denominational general conferences and we're writing legislation and we want to write that word in there. And so for some folks, some of my African-American colleagues, will say, well, it's really about, it's historical and that type of thing. And so I'm not in agreement, total agreement with some of my own colleagues. Yeah, but that's my personal feeling. Thank you.
We're learning a lot today. Are there community announcements you'd like to share? Reverend Sharon, did you have one you wanted to share?
Well, thank you. I had talked with Will last week, and I'm finishing my 3 years of elected council service this year. And right now, it's unclear if I will be able to attend the annual meeting. And so I just wanted to say thank you. It's been an honor to serve with all of you. And I was grateful that Will told me that I will be included as a CC with invitations and updates. So I look forward to continuing to at least be aware of what's going on and hopefully joining you at times. And looking to recruit someone from LOPC who can also perhaps join your council. So thank you so much, and continuing to hold all of you tenderly with the work that you are doing, such critical, important work, especially this day and time. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, and you've been a blessing.
Want to ask prayers for one of our colleagues, Reverend Willie McDaniel, the new board member. He had to go to Kansas City, sudden and tragic death of a niece. And so he's going to be in Kansas City for a couple of weeks. And then Reverend Michael Gonzalez, another one of our newer elected council members, has been going through some health challenges. And so he had taken a leave of absence. I think he's back at his church now. We just want to continue to pray for both of our colleagues.
And that's why we're not having a closing blessing from Reverend Willie today. Anything else we need to share? Yeah, Erica?
Unmute myself. As every year, the Sikh women for world peace, East and West Sikh women, they're sponsoring the peace prayer on the third Saturday. Well, peace prayer on the third Saturday, but it's actually on the World Religion for Peace Day. We always do it on Sunday following that. So third Sunday of this month, the Sikh women all around the world are asking all the Interfaith Council and people of all religious groups to join them in throughout the day, 24-hour period, around the clock. We'll be praying from New Zealand and ending up in Australia and Alaska for the times that are the last to end. It becomes more like a 26-hour prayer around the world. And in the last few years, we've gotten as many as 15 million people around the world praying for world peace and bringing our children of all backgrounds together to the same table to solve bigger problems than smaller ones about who's better, who's more majority, who's minority, who's less of a person, rather to solve bigger problems. And this year, our focus, especially given the West, our views on this year's priorities, it's environmental and climate issues, and potentially and just seeing the very beginnings of what we call destruction of the earth, as we saw this year's California and other floods everywhere in the US. We've decided to encourage people to include not just, let all of us live together in peace, but also let's all work together to solve this one problem and save the house that we actually have been given, and not destroy that in the process of our hatreds towards each other, and try and come together in the next so many decades and save this earth if we can. And that is the prayer. I hope we can all join us on the third Sunday of this month and say a peace prayer, and then include that message of let's all work together to save the earth.
And if you need a place to be this Sunday, Father Tom is preaching at my congregation for International Day of Peace, 10 a.m. Sunday at 200 East Leland Road in Pittsburgh, Community Presbyterian Church or East County Shared Ministry. And let me leave us with this prayer from Rabbi Rami Shapiro. The threat to our salvation is the clash of peoples, Jews and Arabs, offspring of a single father, separated in youth by jealousy, in adolescence by fear, in adulthood by power, in old age by habit. It is time to break these habits of hate and create new habits, habits of the heart that will awake within us the causeless love of redemption and peace.
Amen. Amen.
Christine,
and
Yeah. Oh,
Chris, go.
Can I just mention that there will be a concert this Saturday night, September 16th at Christ the Lord Episcopal Church, and it will be Diverse Voices with Stephanie Smith. And this is a group of Bay Area musicians and composers who are not necessarily usually heard. And so if anybody's interested, that's 7 p.m., Christ the Lord Episcopal Church, 592 Tennant Avenue in Pinole. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine. We put our interfaith calendar in here so we don't put our big events on each other's holy days. And so they're in here so that you can know what's coming up. And of course, we had our links, including the big questions and last time's elected council meeting in July. If you and your congregation can join one of our ICARE projects, there's 3 that need co-sponsors and congregational sponsors and people to join. And our next monthly, all of this information is inside your agenda as well. Our Meaningful Mondays is next meeting on October 2nd from noon, and we're discussing chapters 11 through 13 on Judaism. We do belong to each other, and as our motto says, we envision a world of interfaith peace. So let us continue to be those peacemakers in the world that we have been called to be. Amen, Amin, Ashe. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you.
You as well. Amen.
Thank you.